Highway 61 Entertainment is a production company based in Los Angeles, California. With Joe Gilbert on hand as their main producer and director, the company describes themselves online as producers of innovative and unique documentary features on controversial subjects and major figures of our time. Such figures include Bob Dylan and Elvis Presley. In 2005, it was Highway 61 Entertainment who received a mysterious package in the mail from London with no specific return address. The package included 2 cassettes, which the company's employees were eager to play. Once the tapes were played, everyone on hand believed they had not only hit pay dirt, but had uncovered the truth behind a nearly 40-year-old conspiracy regarding a very publicized musician. The 2 cassettes were dated December 30th, 1999, and were labeled The Last Testament of George Harrison. The aged voice, which seemed eerily similar to the Beatles' own Harrison, revealed that what too many had simply thought was an unproven truth until then. The original Beatles member Paul McCartney was killed in a car crash in November 1966 and replaced with a double. This news ultimately leading to Highway 61's production of Paul McCartney Really Is Dead, The Last Testament of George Harrison. Today, I'd like to bring forth pieces of evidence left behind by Beatles members in support of the long-standing theory that the original Paul McCartney is in fact deceased. There were 2 standing theories surrounding these allegations. First is that during the recording of the band's 8th album, there was much turmoil and the band was on the brink of going their separate ways. When yet another argument erupted, McCartney could take it no more, and in a drug and alcohol-induced frenzy, McCartney is said to have taken to his car. After driving some distance, it is said that McCartney pulled over to the side of the road and shot himself in the head, committing suicide. This chain of events is referenced in many songs by the Beatles, the most prominent lyrics pertaining to the song A Day in the Life, off their 1967 album, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club. The cryptic lyrics read, "He blew his mind out in a car." With the album released less than a year after his death, it is needless to say the possibility for the standing behind their meaning is very evident. The lyrics support the idea that Paul could have shot himself in the head and led to his own death. This theory, however, has now left the minds of many fans and McCartney followers due in large part to Harrison's cassette tape, which stated the cause of his death was in fact a car collision. The second possible cause, being the car collision, begins with the same scenario as the first, in an alcohol and illicit substance-induced rage. However, McCartney, rather than committing suicide, finds himself in a car collision in which he is instantly killed. Another piece of evidence within A Day in the Life is heard when it is played backwards. This piece of evidence wasn't brought forth until 1979, when Beatles experts Joe Galliser and David Fox produced an in-depth radio show called Is Paul Dead? Turn on Me Dead Man, in which they brought the Paul is dead rumors back to life an entire decade after his alleged death. However, they did it like no one had before. Their radio program was an hour long and went into much depth into Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club album. The show caused a firestorm because it gave clear clues of the album and played certain songs backwards, making it very easy for everyone to hear clues, including another clue from the same song in the aforementioned A Day in the Life. The same song played backwards reveals a message by John Lennon, "Paul is dead, miss him, miss him." The reference, of course, being to his supposed ex-bandmate, Paul McCartney. In yet another clue from the much-scrutinized album, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club, the song A Day in the Life contains the lyrics, "He didn't notice that the lights had changed." The key lyric, pointed out by fans, is an allusion to McCartney's death in the car crash. Adding to the lyrics are background noises heard within the song, including a distinct car crash that can be heard in the song, as well as in another song in the same album titled Revolution 9. Many clues can also be found in each of the Beatles album's artwork, starting in 1967. However, the 2 most notable albums are Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club and Abbey Road. The album which was released first was Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club. The artwork for this album appears to be the setting for a funeral. The Beatles members are surrounded by figures who experienced tragic deaths such as Marilyn Monroe, who committed suicide, and Lawrence of Olivier, who was in a fatal motorcycle accident, as well as celebrities such as Bob Dylan, who the year before, in 1967, had experienced a nearly fatal car accident. Another deceased Beatles member is also found on the cover, Stuart Sutcliffe. In the center of the image sits a bass drum with what appears to be the symbols I, O-N-E, I-X, H-E-D-I-E, or more clearly stated without a visual, I-1, I-X, he died. Though the he died is an evident clue towards Paul himself, a more subtle clue can be found within the I-1, I-X. The Roman numerals 1 and 9 are quite distinct within this formation. When put together, they equal 11, 9. More importantly, November 9th, the day McCartney's crash was allegedly reported. Yet another allusion to his death is a clear clue left behind by McCartney's bandmates. As for the album Abbey Road, the simplistic icon of the four men walking across a London road holds more meaning than most people have inquired about, and stands as a distinctive note to McCarthy's death. The cover portrays a funeral procession, as well as the four Beatles members walking across the street behind the procession. The four Beatles members are dressed appropriately for different aspects of a funeral. First in the processional is John Lennon, dressed in all white, represented as a clergyman. Following him is Ringo Starr, who's dressed in all black as a mourner to his friend. Next follows Paul McCartney, who is barefoot and out of step with the rest of his bandmates. While they all have their left foot forward, McCartney is the only one with his right foot forward, and he is also barefoot, symbolizing that he is different from the rest of them, which would be the case if he were not, in fact, the original band member, but the winner of a look-alike contest held shortly after his alleged death. George Harrison, representing a gravedigger, with jeans and a rugged shirt on, follows closely behind McCartney, yet is still in sync with his other bandmates. An event which has been titled by Beatles conspiracy enthusiasts as The Confession is something that can be found in the 1988 Warner Brothers video titled Imagine. Imagine is a short documentary which focused on John Legend and the Imagine recording sessions. There was one particular scene where John Lennon and George Harrison are enjoying a meal and catching up. They are also talking about Yoko Ono and her portrayal as the Beatle wife. John makes a reference to their band. He refers to them as the Fab Four. After making the Fab Four remark, George Harrison corrects him, saying the Fab Three. Realizing his mistake, John agrees with the corrected term, the Fab Three. Later on in the conversation, George asks how someone called Beatle Bill is doing. The question stands, who is Beatle Bill? This could be a reference to Bill Campbell, the winner of the 1967 Paul McCartney look-alike contest, and who is said to have taken his place after his death. Though the various clues brought forth by the band members over the past 5 decades were able to see that Paul McCartney that we have known since 1966 is not truly the original Paul McCartney, but rather a look-alike that has been brought in to cover up a horrific death for the sake of millions of Beatles fans and the reputation of one of the most well-known musical figures in recent history.
So done. So big.
So Daniel, what did you think?
I think she starts out with imagery. I think her eye contact is good. Her credibility, though, is weak, I think, because she didn't really say that how she is really into the band. And also, I think that her connection with the audience is weak in the introduction part. However, she has a very clear voice, and her projection is good. She provides a lot of evidences and a lot of reasonings. Although I don't see where the sources come from, overall I think